Good evening. My name is Dr. Piyush Kumar, and here we are going to discuss the test number 5. And in test number 5, basically, apart from this current affairs questions, it's a test on ancient Indian history and the art and culture. So basically, I am going to discuss the questions of art and culture and history, ancient Indian history, and there are two sort of questions. One is we can categorize as factual and analytical, right? So there is no point of discussing this factual questions. So let us discuss this analytical questions. The factual questions, you can for the factual questions you can refer this model answer which you are going to be provided after the test. So let's begin. The question number 1. The question number 1 is regarding the Indus civilization. So there are three statements. The Indus people were the earliest to produce cotton. That is right. The second is the Harappan village. The Harappan villages were mostly situated near the flood plains. That is also right. The late Harappan culture was primarily Chalcolithic, in which the tools made of copper and stones were used. In the late Harappan culture, we can find it's the period after the Harappan culture where we can find that people have, this particular culture is also known as the Chalcolithic culture, and there we can find that people again have started using copper instead of bronze, and apart from this copper, these people were using stone. That is why this particular period is known as the Chalcolithic period. And this late Harappan culture is that is why the statement, as the statement is saying, the late Harappan culture was primarily Chalcolithic, so that 100% correct, those who were using this copper and stone. So all the statements are correct, so answer will be D. Question number 2. Consider the following with the reference of the Neolithic settlements in India. The first statement, the Neolithic settlements were mainly confined to the northwestern part of India. This this particular statement is wrong, because that we cannot say that Neolithic settlements were only confined to northwestern part of India, because mainly we can say that the Neolithic phase was spread to so many places of India. We can find the so many Neolithic places or Neolithic sites in the South India. There are so many Neolithic like Halur and many more we can find in the South India. Same we can discuss for the Eastern India and Central India as well. There also we can find some of the Neolithic sites. So the statement first is wrong. The second statement, they settled down only on the slopes of the hills, rock shelters and the river valleys, and they followed the subsistence mode of production. So the first thing, they mainly settled down on the slopes of the hills. Now, this particular period is very significant. Why? Because this is the period when we can find that the agriculture has started. And for the agriculture, they needed certain plains. And as it is a Neolithic phase, and basically these people were using stones for making tools, so that was that is why these people were always looking for such places, right, where they could find the plains as well as the stones, right. So that is why they preferred the slopes or the valleys where they could find the stones as well as the plains. So this particular statement is right. And the second part of the statement is saying about the subsistence mode of production. Look, this is the period when people just now came to know about the agriculture, right. This is the period when they have just started the practicing this agriculture. So this is in this particular phase we cannot say that they were capable of producing more than their requirement. So in a different word we can say that these people were not capable of producing this surplus in this particular period, and that is why this particular agriculture could be said as the subsistence mode of production. It means that they were producing that much only, which was only for the consumption of the community, right. So that is why the second statement is correct. So the answer will be B, because the first is wrong and second is right. So only option number 2 is correct. So the answer will be B. Question number 3. Which of the following are not correct? The end of the Neolithic period saw the use of metals, and the first to be used was copper. The end of Neolithic period saw the use of metals, and the first to be used was copper. Yes, this statement is definitely correct, because once these people are at the end part of the Neolithic, right, so this is the phase when they have started using the copper. So we can say in a different sense, copper was the first metal which was used by the people. So statement number 1 is correct. Statement number 2, the Chalcolithic culture is also called the stone copper phase. Yes, because we have just now discussed that this is the phase when the people were using copper as well as stone, because copper is such a metal, you cannot make any sort of tool or weapon with the help of copper, because copper is very weak sort of metal. You cannot make any hard tool or weapon. So that is why these people were relying more on the stones rather than copper. Definitely these people were using copper, but copper was not very much useful for them in this particular period. So statement number 2 is also correct. The third statement, during the Rig Vedic period, the king exercises unlimited power and he was independent in his decisions. Well, this particular statement is wrong. Why it is wrong? Because in the Rig Vedic period, this is not true that the king was enjoying unlimited power. Why? Because in the Rig Vedic, as far as this Rig Veda is concerned, because most of the informations on the Rig Vedic period, those were drawn from this. Those were drawn from this Rig Veda. So there, apart from this Rajan, this post of Rajan, so many committees have been discussed. Those committees are those organizations, those basically known as the Sabha, Samiti, Vidat and Gan, right? So these organizations are supposed to be a sort of check over the king's unlimited power. So this particular statement is wrong. So the answer will be C. And the D, the institution Gotra appeared during the later Vedic period. This is true because this particular notion of Gotra, right, this particular notion is emerging somewhere in the later Vedic period, because in the Rig Veda we don't find any such reference of Gotra. So this is a creation of the later Vedic period. So the statement number D is also correct, right. So the answer will be C. Question number 4. There are two statements. Indo-Iranian contacts influenced and gave a new impetus to the architecture design in India. Yes, that this particular statement is correct. Why so? Because the Indo-Iranian context, actually it's giving a sort of impetus, we can say, or sort of influences, we can say, on the Indian architectural system, because well, this is a matter of debate, but even though we can say we can see the pillars which were basically the concept of pillars which was basically used by Ashoka. But in those pillars we can see one thing, the similar pillars we can see in the central part of basically Central Asia. So what we can say, there are some similarities between the architectural style, because there is some similarity over for the top of the pillars, because somewhere in India that particular shape was also used, and similarly we can discuss about the Iran where people are also using similar kind of structure. So we find certain similarities. Now what I was telling, there might be some debate, and there is a debate, Indian peoples were Indian peoples influenced by this Iranian structure or the Greek structure, Greek architecture or not. But it's, as I'm telling, this is a debatable topic. So no, let's not discuss a lot about this. But as far as this objectivity of this particular thing is concerned, so here we can say yes, there might be some influences of this Central Asian structure, Central Asian architecture on the Indian architecture. So this statement is correct, right? Statement number 2. The campaign of Alexander opened up the trade connects with Greek, but the routes were restricted up to the land only. Well, this is not the right right statement. Why? Because you might be knowing one thing, it has been written in the NCERT as well, Alexander was very much interested in trade and commerce, and actually he wanted to develop a trading relationship between India and the Greek. And that is why he sent his friend Nearchus to find out some of the sea routes to India, and Nearchus found 2 sea routes from Iran to from the Greek land to India. And so this particular statement is wrong, because apart from this land routes, they have definitely discovered some of the sea routes, and later on these sea routes were being used for the trade between India and the Central Asia, right? So this second statement is wrong, so only statement number 1 is correct, so the correct answer will be A. Question number 5. Consider the following statement with reference to the Mauryan Empire. The economic activities in the empire were mainly under the control of the state. Well, this is such a statement, there is much debate on that. Normally it has been written in the most of the books, most of the economic activities, either it is primary or secondary, it was these were being regulated by the state, right? Because it has been said they were donating the lands, basically those virgin lands, to the Sudra community, and because they just wanted to use the potential of those lands, and that is why they were donating this land to the Sudras, that they would cultivate those lands, and just by cultivating these virgin lands would be brought under the cultivation, right? Apart from that, it has been also written that they were involved in trade and commerce, they were involved in manufacturing, right? And roughly we can say that almost every sphere of the economy was being regulated by the state. But the another interpretation is also there that what is happening. To know about the Mauryan Empire, we are relying so much on the Arthashastra, right? And as you know, Arthashastra is a treatise on this, polity and the economy during this particular phase. And as all of you know, all of you must be knowing that this book was written by Kautilya, right? And he's writing this book. Now the thing is that Arthashastra is supposed to be an ideal treatise. Arthashastra is presenting the ideal sort of world, right? So we cannot say that whatever has been written in the Arthashastra, these were actually followed in the society, or followed in the society. It's very tough to say, or it might be a matter of debate, right? Even though in the most of books, as I know, I'm telling you repeatedly that most of the books writing in this way. So yes, we can assume this statement as a correct statement. Statement number 2. The name of the Asoka appeared in all his inscriptions were written in Pali. Right? This is not correct, because all his inscriptions are not don't mention the name of Asoka, because only in few pillars or few inscriptions we can find that the name of Asoka has been mentioned. And in rest of the inscriptions we can find different sort of titles have been mentioned, like Devanam, Piyadasi, and these sort of titles have been used. So the statement number 2 is not correct, right? Statement number 3. Asoka's diplomatic policy was more of ideologically driven. Asoka's diplomatic policy was more of ideologically driven. Well, this is a sort of it's a very we must inquire this particular statement very seriously, because Asoka was having a policy of Dhamma, right? And instead of the Vijaya, or instead of the wars, he followed the path of Dhamma Vijaya. There he sent so many ambassadors to different countries, right? Basically in Southeast Asian countries and some other countries, right? Just for the sake of Dhamma Vijaya, right? So that is why it has been said that Asoka's diplomatic policy was more of ideologically driven. As we can know, Kalinga War was the last war which was fought by Asoka, right? After that he was not involved in any sort of war. So basically he promoted the idea of Dhamma Vijaya. So that is why it can be said that Asoka's diplomatic policy was more of ideologically driven, and that is why he was trying to develop his relationship with different parts, either you talk about Central Asia or Southeast Asian countries or Sri Lanka or some other countries, right? On the basis of the on the idea of this Dhamma Vijaya, right? So this statement number 3 is correct. So the answer will be first, and third is correct. So the answer will be C. Question number 6. Which of the following statements are not correct? The first, the Indo-Greek rulers were the first to issue the coins which were attributed to the king and the dynasty. Well, this statement is correct. Why so? Because there was a culture of minting coins even before this particular period. When this some foreigners were coming to northwestern part of India, but they had a different sort of sense of coin making or minting of coins. Why? Because normally these people were making some sort of picture on the coins, and that is why this particular coins were known as the punch mark coins, because they put a sort of stamp over the coins. But this idea has been changed when this northwestern, foreigners were coming to the northwestern part of India, and these rulers have started this tradition of minting some of the, in somewhere we can find the figures of the rulers, right? In somewhere we can find the regnal periods of the ruler. Somewhere we can find that the religious patterns, right, or the religious beliefs of the kings or the dynasties have been also depicted on the coins. So this particular tradition has been started during this Indo-Greek rulers. So this statement number 1 is correct. Statement number B. Indo-Greeks were the first to use gold coins in India. That is also true. They were the first people. Before that, we can find only the silver coins, which were known as the punchmark coins, as I told as I told you earlier. Right. So the statement number 2 is also correct. Statement number C. The Saka ruler Rudradaman first undertook the repair works of the Sudarsana lake in the Kathiawar. Yeah, well, this particular lake is very important, and if you find so many references, I mean numerous time references of this lake. So out of these references, one is regarding the Saka ruler Rudradaman, that he undertook the repair work of this particular lake. So the statement number C is also correct. Statement number D, Asoka strengthened the idea of the divine origin of the kingship as called sons of gods, which later on was adopted by the Saka and Kusanas. Well, this particular statement is wrong, because Asoka was not following this particular idea, because Asoka has started a new tradition of kingship, and according to that tradition of kingship, Asoka was claiming that all the subject population is his child, right? So he was claiming to be father of all his subject population, and that is why on the basis of that particular idea, he was claiming a sort of power to rule over his subject population. So this is not the idea of son of God, because he was just claiming that he is a beloved of God rather than son of God. So the concept of divinity, that particular concept was not exactly we can find in this Asoka's regnal period, or in the principle of kingship during the Asoka's period. So this particular statement is wrong. So the answer will be D of the question number 7. Question number 7. Consider the following statement which reference to the happenings in the late 3rd and the early 4th century BC. Statement number 1. The route of Dakshinapath supplied gold, pearls and various precious stones, right? Dakshinapath was a route which was connecting to North India via Ujjain, via Ujjain to the Deccan area, basically. So North India was connected with South India through this Dakshinapath. And as you know, the South was the only region of India which could provide this gold, because Kolar mines of Karnataka, that was fulfilling the demand of gold. And definitely the seas around the coastal areas of South India, this was providing the pearls and various precious stones. So definitely this was the only route which was providing these kind of precious things to the North India, right? So statement number first is correct. Second, the heterodox sects spread and influenced the Gangetic culture over the southern region. Well, look, this is such a statement, there might be so many interpretations for this, that this heterodox sect spread the influence of Gangetic culture over the southern region. Now the thing is that normally it has been claimed in some of the Vedic texts Rishi Agastya was the fellow who carried on this Aryan culture to the South India. And just because of this fellows, I mean, just because of this Rishi Agastya, or just because of some more sages, we can say the North Indian culture, basically the Aryan culture, was carried to the South India. But this idea is such that which could be challenged, and presently most of the historians are not agree with this particular statement, because we can find that individual development of culture in South India, and that is where we can find that there's a different language, the culture is different. So we can say that this particular culture of South India, it developed individually, right? There is no connection with the South India, but this also cannot be said, because there might be some connection with the North India, but the South India was not highly influenced by the North India. But as we move later on, we can find that South India was highly influenced by this Buddhism, Jainism, because in around 3rd century or 4th century, we can see Buddhism and Jainism became widespread in the South India, right? And it became so popular in South India that we can find that the Bhakti movement was emerging in South India, just in the rivalry with this heterodox sects, basically like Buddhism, Jainism and some others, right? So this is true that this Buddhism, Jainism and some other sects or religions, they were influencing this South India, and basically culturally, or we can say culture wise, right? So this statement number 2 is correct. So we can say answer will be D, all the above, both the statements are correct. Question number 8. Which of the following statement regarding Asoka's Dhamma is or not correct? Rock Edict 13 Rock Edict 13 of paramount importance is paramount importance in the understanding of Asoka's policy of Dhamma. That is, well, that is correct. The next, the fifth rock edict introduced the institution of Dhamma in Mahamathas. Look, okay. Which of the following statements regarding Asoka's Dhamma are not correct, right? So, the statement number first, that is Asoka's rock edict 13 is of paramount importance in the understanding of Asokan policy of Dhamma, that is correct. The fifth rock edict introduced the institution of Dhamma, Mahamathas, that is also correct. The third, Asoka's Dhamma could not survive, that is also correct, right? Asoka's Dhamma definitely could not survive. And the finally, policy of Dhamma was an attempt at founding a new religion, that is definitely not correct, because it cannot be said that Asoka was just trying to start a new religion such as which is known as Asoka's Dhamma, because what was Asoka's Dhamma? Basically, he just took so many ethical messages or ethical things from different religions, or we can say these ethical messages were part of every religion or are part of every religion, right? So Asoka was just trying to spread some sort of ethical things among his subject population. So that was the basic idea of Asoka's Dhamma, rather than he wanted to he wanted to start a new religion. Even it cannot be said that Asoka was simply trying to spread the Buddhism, because in any of the rock edicts we cannot find that Asoka's Dhamma was the Buddhism, right? Buddhism was the main thing, because here he is only discussing about some of the ethical things, right? So it was not Buddhism, it was not Brahmanism, it was not Jainism. He has just took some of the ethical things from different religions, and he just tried that the mass or the subject population must follow these kind of things. These kind of things. So that was the only idea behind the Asoka's Dhamma. So definitely we cannot say it was a new religion or sort of new religion. So the answer number the statement number 4 is correct. So the answer will be C. 9. It's a factual question. You just see major works of Kalidas. Question number 10. This is also a factual. 11. Which of the following were consequence of Alexander's invasion in 326-325 BC? The first, direct contact between India and Greece was established in different fields. Definitely this is correct, because once Alexander is coming, just now we have discussed that Alexander was very much interested in trading relationship between Asia and the Greek world, and that is why he started he founded some cities and he started some new trade, right? So that is true. The second, more Greek settlements in northwest India were established. Just now I told you, yes, that is true. Now he founded some cities in the northwestern part, and there we can find the Greeks people have started living, and this also facilitated the trade between India and Greek. Third, petty states in the northwest India were destroyed, thus paving the way for the expansion of Mauryan Empire in the area. Yes, that is also true, because some of the rulers in this dynasties, we can say, they were very powerful in the northwestern part. Like we can discuss about this Porus, right? He was also one of the important ruler in the northwestern part of India, and it is well known. This fact is very much well known, that Alexander faced so many problems to defeat this fellow Porus, and that is why it has been said on the basis of that we can say some of the important rulers were there. So once these rulers were destroyed just because of this fellow, or just because of the invasion of Alexander, so definitely some of works, or we can say major work, which might be finished by this fellow Alexander, might be finished by Chandragupta, that was already done by Alexander, and that is why it facilitated the Chandragupta Maurya's invasion to these areas. So definitely it paved the way for this fellow Chandragupta Maurya. So that is also correct. So all the three statements are correct. So the answer will be C. Question number 12 is about the marriages. There were 8 forms of marriages which have been discussed in the Vedic text. This is a question, factual question. You just see it from the model answer. Question number 13. The Atharva Veda inform us about the folk tradition of later Vedic period. This statement is correct. Why so? Because Atharva Veda is also known as the Veda for the tribal people, right? Why? Because this is the period we can find that the intermixing between the Aryans and the non-Aryans was in a high pace. And in this particular period, we can find that this fourth Veda have been composed, and this fourth Veda has been attributed to the the tribal people of India, or the indigenous communities of India, right, or the aboriginals of India, right. So that is why it can be said that this is the folk tradition of later Vedic period. There we can find this black magic, Kala Jadoo, and these kind of things, right? Ayurvedans, these sort of things. So this is statement number first is correct. Second, the elite traditions of later Vedic society, right? That is not correct, because if it is discussing about the folk tradition of later Vedic period, so of course it's not dealing with the elite traditions of the later Vedic society. Third, the socio-religious conditions of the common people in the Vedic society. Yes, that's true, because once this particular Veda is dealing with the folk culture, so simultaneously this is dealing with the socio-economic conditions of the people. So statement number first and third are correct, right? The answer will be D. 14 is a factual. 15. Kalibanga was an outpost of the Harappan for sea trade with the contemporary West Asian societies. Definitely not. This is not correct, because Kalibanga was not the post. The second, Lothal was ranked as the premier city of the Harappan civilization because of the volume of variety of objects discovered from the site. It is not Lothal. Normally, Mohenjo-daro is known, as the premier city of just a minute. Sorry, Harappa. Harappa is known as the premier city of Indus Valley civilization. So that is also not correct. Mohenjo-daro, the third, Mohenjo-daro located along the dried up the bed rivers of Ghaggar. This is also not correct, because Mohenjo-daro is on the bank of river Indus. This is also incorrect. Fourth, built and rebuilt over time, the city of Harappa Harappa boasts of 20 meters high mound of the debris. This is also not correct, because this particular evidence, the evidences for building and rebuilding that we find for the Mohenjo-daro, not for the Harappa. So all the statements are wrong. So answer will be A, not none. 16 is a factual one. 17. Okay, question number 17. With regard to the primary structures of Hinduism, the Vedas, which of the following is not true? Statement number first is not true. Okay, fine. So the they were revered as Apaurushe, meaning not of human origin. Yes, that's true. Vedas were normally assumed to be the that were spoken basically by the Brahma. So this is definitely considered as it was not considered as the human considered as not of human origin. It was considered which is something which was spoken by the god, right? The statement number first is correct. Second, the Vedas are infallible. Yes, Vedas are infallible. What is the meaning of infallible? It means that the Vedas are not the ultimate reality or the ultimate truth, because it is not something like that which has to be has to be succeeded. It is something, there might be so many interpretations, and that is why we can find that later on so many texts have been compiled just to interpret the Vedas, and there might be some changes as well, right? So that is why we cannot say that the Vedas, whatever has been written in the Vedas or composed in the Vedas, that was that were final, because people kept on interpreting differently this this Vedas. So we can say this particular statement is wrong. The Vedas are not infallible. So many changes and so many interpretations were possible, and it definitely took place, right? So it's wrong. The Vedas, the Vedas enshrine the knowledge believed to have been revealed to certain rishis by Brahma. Just now I told you that this is true. D, they were referred to as Shruti because the rishis heard the Vedas. Yes, because these Vedas were normally categorized as the Shruti literature. What is the Shruti literature? According to the Shruti literature, the Vedas were passed through passed by listening only. I mean, it was these Vedas, as it was not of human origin. People could not write down it. That is why it has been said that people kept on listening it and passed it in the same fashion, right? So that is why this is known as the Shruti literature. So these also correct. So the answer will be B. That is a wrong statement. Next is a factual question. Question number 19. Consider the following statements. Avoidance of the avoidance of the extremities of penance and the enjoyment. This is okay. Let us see the options first. Indifference to the authorities of the Vedas, denial of the efficacy of the rituals, non-injury to the animal life. Which of the statements were common to the Buddhism and Jainism? Okay. So yes, statement number 2nd, 3rd and 4th, these were definitely common, but the first is not. Why? Because Buddhism, Buddhism is talking about the middle part, right? Neither very extremism or nor very liberalism. Whether the Jainism is talking about very much very much extremism, right? So here they differed. As far as statement number 2nd is concerned, indifference to the authority of Vedas. Both of them were basically denied to accept the Vedas as the authentic source of information. The third, denial of efficacy of the rituals. Yes, both of them denied the rituals, and non-violence, right? So this was also, both Buddhism and Jainism as well emphasized on this non-injury or the non-violence, right? So 2, 3 and 4, answer will be B. Which of the following facts contributed to the rise of Magadhan Empire? Question number 20. The first, strategic location of the capital. That's true, because Rajgir was the earliest capital, was the early capital of Magadhan Empire, and Rajgir was situated at such a place which was surrounded by so many hills. Basically, it has been said that it is surrounded by 5 hills. So in that particular time, it was very tough to attack or win this particular this particular place or this particular capital. So it was supposed to be one of the major reason that why Rajgir became one of the important place from where this Magadhan people were, where this Magadhan people could feel very safe, and that became one of the important reason for the rise of this Magadhan Empire. The second, unorthodox character of the Magadhan people. Well, this is the period when we can see that Buddhism and Jainism, such sort of religions, new religions as sects were emerging up, right? And ultimately what happened, these people were, just as Buddhism, Jainism and these kind of new religions are emerging up, these new religions actually, we can say, facilitated the emergence of this Magadhan Empire. In what way we can say like that? Because these people were more more focused on the economy rather than some of the rituals and some the Brahmanical rituals basically, which were basically against the development of the economy, right? So in this particular period we can say that people have started following the orthodox orthodox religions, right? And just because of that reason, what happened, economy became the more prominent thing which people have started following, or we can say supporting. And so this unorthodox character, because unorthodox character means somebody supporting Buddhism, some Jainism, some Ajivika sect, some Hinduism, right? So this unorthodox character provided this facility of to this Magadhan Empire to emerge, or we can say is provided the circumstances in which the Magadhan Empire could emerge, right? So the second statement is correct. The third, control over the sea trade on the eastern coast. That is not correct, because as Kalinga was Kalinga became part of this Magadhan Empire much later on during the period of Asoka, and before that we don't find any such reference which could clarify that they were having any sort of control on this over this eastern coast of India. The second thing, that the eastern coast was not used in that particular period, because normally in this the period under discussion, in this particular period which is under discussion, there we can find that normally people are using the western coast. There might be some references of the trade and commerce in the lower part, basically in the Tamilian coast. So, but that was definitely not under control of Mauryans. So, as far as the eastern coast is there, so definitely these people were not controlling the eastern coast, right. So, this is a wrong statement. Fourth, availability of the rich deposits of the iron ores. This iron played very important role in the emergence of Magadhan Empire. Why? Because just because of this iron, we can say one thing. This iron made the people of Magadha capable in producing the surplus, right? And once the surplus is there, then only we can find that the state system could emerge and exist, right? Because until and unless the surplus is there, so definitely this proper taxation system could not function, because for the proper function of the taxation system, there should be a strong production of surplus, because if the surplus is there, so with that surplus could be collected by the state in the name of taxes, right? And with the help of this taxes, what we can see, they would be capable of forming a army, and with the help of this army they could spread their empire. So there is a long chain which we can find between the emergence of empire and the surplus production, right? So both the things are very much related. And as far as this surplus production is concerned, so there is no doubt that the Magadhan zone was a very fertile zone. The rainfall pattern was also very good, but for the agricultural purpose they needed a iron plowshare, right? That was very much required, and apart from iron plowshare, they needed some tools as well, right? And this could be met only with these could be met only with the help of this iron tools. And as the Magadhan people had their access to the iron mines of the Jharkhand, right? So it became very important for them, right? And ultimately this is supposed to be one of the major reason for the emergence of this Magadhan Empire. So statement number first, second and fourth are correct. So the answer will be C. #21. Select the statements where the Vedic text and the subjects matter they deal with are correctly matched. Brahmanas deals with metaphysical problem. Brahmanas deals with metaphysical problem. This is not correct, because Brahmanas are normally supposed to be the interpretation of the or further interpretation of the Veda. So basically it supported the idea of Vedic rituals rather than the idea of metaphysical, right? What is this metaphysical? Which is, in the metaphysical world, basically we discuss the idea of moksha, salvation and these kind of things. But in Vedic texts or in Brahmanas, normally we find that rituals was known as the major path to get the salvation. But in in metaphysical problem, here these people are moving beyond this rituals and all that, and there they have started talking about about the meditation, about the going to the forest and having this tapasya and all that for the for getting the salvation. So this metaphysical was definitely not the concern of the Brahmanas. So this is a wrong statement. Second, the Upanishad deal with the method of performing Vedic rituals. Actually both the statements have been interchanged. Why? Because the Brahmanas deal with the performing of Vedic rituals and the Upanishads deal with the metaphysical problem. This Upanishad is known as the Vedantic philosophy as well. Why? Because this is written, sorry, this is not written, this is actually composed somewhere in the last phase of the later Vedic period. So this is the period when we can find that the people got very much disturbed or annoyed with this Brahminical system, and right now these people of this North Gangetic plains, we can say, they were looking for some alternative, and this is the period when the Upanishads and Aranyakas have been compiled, and there these people have discussed about the metaphysical concerns. So here rituals were not very important, and some other things like the the idea of salvation, what is Brahma, what is this Prakriti, what is Jagat, these kind of ideas became more important as compared to this Vedic rituals, right? So this is the work of Upanishad, right? So second number statement is also wrong. Third, Atharva Veda documents the folk tradition, that we have already discussed, that is correct. Fourth, Rig Veda carries linguistic similarities with the Avesta. Yeah, that's true, because so many things are very much similar to the Avesta, which is an Iranian text, Iranian religious text, right? And between the Avesta, which is a Iranian religious text, and Rig Veda, right? That is true. When basically we can find the similarity between the ideas, similarity between the between the concepts of God and so on, right? So the fourth is correct. So statement number third and fourth is correct. Well, not a single option does mention about the third and fourth. So answer will be none of the above options. So that will be D. 22. Consider the following statements regarding the guilds during the postmodern period. First, they worked under the government. Well, this is not a right statement. Why? Because the guilds were such a organization which was not linked to the government, because normally people from a single profession, they used to make a guild, and normally the guild was trying to regulate the business and trade and commerce and the manufacturing of that particular commodity. So it was normally regulated by regulated and formed by the people related to the same profession. So here the government was not involved a bit, right? So this particular statement is incorrect. Second, they sometimes issued coins. This is correct. Sometimes they have, we have so many references where we can find that they have started using the minting the coins. So this is correct. Third, they provided credit and loans to the members of the guild. That is also correct, because this was also one of the important tasks or duty of the guild. Fourth, guild laws were protected by the government. Yes. Suppose any particular case is going beyond the guild's jurisdiction authority, right? And then if the case is going beyond to the jurisdiction authority of the guild, then it is going to the court of the king, right? So even that case, the king could not ignore the laws of the guild, right? So in that case, we can say that even the guild laws were protected by the government as well, right? But as I am telling you, it could not be violated by the government as well, right? So statement number second, third and fourth are correct. So answer will be B. Second, third and fourth. Question number 23. Consider the following statements regarding the planned urban centers of Mohenjo-daro, the best known site of the Harappan civilization. First, Mohenjo-daro, the settlement is divided into two sections, one smaller but higher and the other much larger but lower. Archaeologists designate these as the citadel and the lower town respectively. This is a very well known fact that cities were normally divided into two parts, almost all every city, and this is known as the citadel area, and this is known as the lower part. This was smaller and this was slightly based on slightly high platform. So this is a very well known fact. So this is correct, right? Second, the citadel owes its height to the fact that the buildings were constructed on the hilly region. Well, this is not correct, because the citadel were basically not built over any hilly area, but it was built over a burnt brick platform rather than on any hilly area, right? So statement number second is not correct. Third, in lower towns, several buildings are built on platform which served as foundation, in which in lower towns several buildings are built on platforms which served as foundations. That is also correct, right? So first and third are correct. So the answer will be C. 24. Consider the following statements about the Ashokan works and inscriptions. The Pillar Edict defines Ashoka's principle of protection to people. Statement number first, the Pillar Edict defined Ashoka's principle of protection to people and works done by him for the Dhamma policy. That is true. The Pillar Edict definitely defines Ashoka's principle of protection, right? In what way he is supposed to protect the people of basically his subject population, right? So this is true. The second, the Jaugar rock inscription of Ashoka gives an account of the Kalinga War. This is not correct, because it is not the Jaugar, it is Sahabaz Gadi which gives gives an account of the Kalinga War, right? The third, Ruminde inscription of Ashoka talks about the land grant and the tax concession to the monasteries. Yes, that is true, because in the Ruminde inscription we can find it has been written clearly that now his giving a tax concession to the people who are living there. So that is correct. So the first and third are correct. So the answer will be B. 25. Which of the following literary works, well, this is a factual question, you just see it in the what answer. 26. Consider the following statements about the Gupta literature. Prakrit was the official language of the court. That is definitely wrong, because it was Sanskrit, and it's a very normal fact that Sanskrit became very popular during this Gupta period, and as it was declared as the code language as well, and this is the period we can find that most of the literatures were also written in Sanskrit. So this is wrong. Second, Smritis, Itihas and Puranas were given final shape during this age. Just now I have been discussing most of the Vedic things have been, Vedic literature have been also written or given final shape in this particular period. That is correct. Third, the court adorned the Navaratnas during the rule of Chandragupta, during the rule of Samudragupta. This is wrong. It was Chandragupta, Chandragupta first. During the in his court we can find this Navaratna. So this is also wrong. Fourth, the Buddhist work of the logic by Basubandhu and the Jaina work on logic by Siddhesana Divakara was founded during this age. That is also correct. So the second and fourth are correct. So the correct answer is C. 27 is a factual. 28 is a factual. 29. Which of the following reasons can be attributed to the translation of the ancient Indian scriptures into European languages? This is a well-known fact. Once this East India Company is coming into India, and once they are here, they have started one process of translating this Indian classical literature, basically the Sanskrit literature, into the basically English. And now in this question they are asking, okay, what is the reason behind that, why they have started this particular process. So the reason, question number, the statement number first, the Christian missionaries wanted to find out the vulnerable points in Hindu religion. That's true. What happened actually, this Christian missionaries were here, and this Christian missionaries actually wanted to disclose some of the lacunas of Hindu society, and for that they wanted to understand this Indian culture, right? And what would be the best way to understand the Indian culture? That definitely it would be the translating the Indian books, because just by reading those ancient literature they wanted to understand this Indian the Indian culture, right? So that is why they have they definitely just because of this reason they have translated so many books. That's true. The first is correct. The second, the point that the European language are very much similar to the Sanskrit and the European language, that is also true, because this is the period when we can find that the concept of Indo-European language is coming, and just because of this this particular reason, basically this is a Oriental concept where they have discussed about the similarities between the Indian and the European languages, and they just they came up with this idea that these were the Aryan people who migrated to different regions from the Central Asia. One group migrated, or some groups migrated to the western part, some migrated to the eastern part. Those who came to the eastern part, those were those were in India, and those who moved to the western part, those were basically in Europe, right? So that is why, just because of this reason, there are some similarities between the languages like German and some other languages with the Sanskrit, right? So once they found such sort of similarity, right, so definitely just to prove their argument, they have done so many translations. The third, the revolt of 1857 against British rule. Well, once the Indian people have done the revolt in 1857, then the English people realized that if they wanted to rule over India, that they had to understand the Indian culture in a pretty well manner. If they won't be able to understand this Indian culture properly, that they won't be able to rule also here, right? And just because of this reason, what happened, they wanted they intensified this process of understanding this Indian culture. And as I told you, for this particular purpose, what was the most important thing? The translating the culture, translating the Sanskrit text of Indian culture. So these are some of the reasons, and definitely the administration became the more important reason, because ultimately they had to make or form their own government or own administrative system here, and for that they had to understand the Indian society and culture, and this was the major reason. So all the statements are correct here. So the answer will be D. Question number 30. Consider the following statement about the Sangam literature. It was religious in nature, having Rig Vedic influence. Both the points are wrong, because it was not having it was not religious in nature, and as it is known as a heroic death of the kings of South India, basically this Chol, Chen and Pandya rulers. So this is wrong, and there was no influence of the Rig Veda, right? That is wrong. Second, Sangama literature describes military exploits of the kings in detail. That's correct, right? So only the second is correct. So the answer will be B. Next one is a factual. 32. Chalcolithic people living on the black cotton soil area did not practice cultivation on intensive scale. Which of the following reasons are correct? Well, basically this Chalcolithic people were found in the Gujarat, Rajasthan, western part of Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, right? This was the belt in the later phase of the in the later phase of the Chalcolithic period. And there these people, this question is saying that they were not very much good in the agriculture, or they were not practicing the agriculture in an intensive scale. So what was the reason? The first, use of iron implements had no place in the Chalcolithic culture. Definitely this is true. This particular time we have just now discussed the Chalcolithic people were normally in the late Harappan phase, they were using this copper and stone. So definitely the iron was not there, and we have just now discussed the use of iron in the agricultural field as well, right? The second, decline in rainfall from the 1200 BC onwards, that is also correct, because this is earlier it has been said that this particular zone was experiencing good rainfall, but later on, just because of some of the weather condition, some of the change in the weather condition, we can find the rainfall pattern have been declined in this particular in this particular area. So that is also true. Third, they did not possess the knowledge of the agriculture. This is not true, because ultimately these were the agriculturist community. It was a rural community, right? And they were very much aware of the agriculture. It might be possible that they were not capable of producing the surplus, even though we cannot say it for the last phase of the Chalcolithic culture, because there we can find that some sort of urbanization have started taking place over there, right? So there, if any sort of urbanization was started taking place over there, has started taking place in this particular zone, so it is clearly indicating about the the knowledge of agriculture, and this process was gradually intensified also, right? So this is definitely not correct or incorrect, right? Fourth, the villages were yet to be emerged, that is also not correct. It is a rural society, right? And normally this is Chalcolithic people were known as the village communities. So the third and fourth are wrong, first and second are correct, so answer will be B. 33 is a factual question. 34, it's about the Rig Vedic period. First, women were not allowed to participate in Sabhas and Samiti. This is definitely wrong. They were allowed to participate, and as it is a well-known thing that women were enjoying good status in the Rig Vedic period, and they were part of every sphere of life. So this is not correct. Second, widow remarriage was prevalent in the Rig Vedic period. Yes, that is true. And as the same thing, widows were not having very good status, were having good status in the Rig Vedic society, and as the concept of property, didn't become very, didn't become very prominent in this particular phase. So that is why the concept of widow remarriage was very common, right? This particular thing, that when people have started stopping this practice of widow remarriage, became very intensified when the notion of property is coming, because once the notion of property is coming, then people have started thinking in a way, if the widow is remarrying to someone else, then the property of the household is moving outside of the family. So this particular notion somehow started functioning. So this is definitely not in the case of Rig Vedic society. So the statement number second is correct. So the answer will be B only. Next is a factual question, 36. This is also a factual question, 36. 37. Consider the following statement. Jainism did not condemn the Varna system. Yes, that's true. Jainism did not condemn the Varna system, because they accept the Varna system, and they are saying, they are giving the logic that if people have taken birth in a lower Varna, then it is just because of their wrong deeds in the past or the previous birth. just because of their wrong deeds in the previous birth, or the not following of their duties in the previous birth, they have taken birth as a lower in a lower varna, this particular in this particular in this particular birth. So it can be said that they, in that sense we can say that they didn't condemn the varna system, or we can say they didn't deny the varna system completely. So this idea was somewhere accepted by Jainism, right? The second, Jainism prohibited the practice of agriculture for its followers. That is also true, because according to them, while performing this agriculture, somehow you are creating problem for the animals and for the insects which were found in the inside the earth. So it was also prohibited by the Jainism, right? So the first and second both the correct. So the, both the statements are correct. So the answer will be C. Consider the following reasons for the rise of Mahajanpadas, right? So the first, prevalence of surplus economy, that we have already discussed. This once we can see that the Janpadas, or the proto format of the states are emerging as a proper state system, emerging as a proper state. So there the surplus economy is very important. Just now we have already discussed it, right? So this is correct. Strong allegiance to the tribe to which they belong. Well, this is a wrong statement. Why? Because now their loyalty was not towards their community, but it became towards the state, right? So now this particular notion of loyalty towards the community, this particular notion was not existing anymore, and it was this particular notion was breaking, and that is why the loyalty towards state became more important. So this particular statement is not correct. This was existing much before, much before this Mahajanpada period. The third, use of elephants in warfare, that is also one of the valid reason. So the first and third are correct. So the answer will be A. Which of the following can be considered for having Iranian impact? Kharoshti script, that is well known fact that the Kharoshti was coming to India just because of this northwestern, the people, the foreigners were coming to the northwestern part of India, right. So they were bringing with them this Kharoshti script, that is true, and so many scripts of Asoka we can find in the Kharoshti in the northwestern part of India. The bell-shaped capital, that is also we have discussed. Now it's a matter of debate, but normally it has been assumed that there are some similarities between the top of the Iranian pillars and the Indian pillars, Asokan pillars basically, and in both the pillars we can find this bell-shaped of capital. Somewhere it is and somewhere it has been said as the inverted lotus. Somewhere people are saying it is a bell, but there are some similarities. So this is also true. The third, use of chariot. No, people were already using the chariot inside India, so that is not correct. So the first and second are correct. So third is wrong. So the answer will be B. 40. Popular assemblies like Sabha and Samiti could not sustain in the post-Vedic times. Consider the following reason. That is true, that the Sabha and Samiti could not sustain in the later Vedic period or in the post-Vedic times, right? What is the reason behind that? Right, these assemblies were tribal in nature. This is true, but this is not the right reason, I guess. They were tribal in nature. Definitely, these kind of organizations could exist only during this tribal nature, but the communities, the size of the community is very smaller, and people could meet regularly, right? And people could take decisions combinedly, right? So these kind of things are possible in the tribal communities only. So this is true, but this is not the right reason for the why this Sabha and Samiti became extinct in the post-Vedic period, right? The second, these assemblies could not find place for many non-Vedic tribes who lived in the new kingdom. Thus, these assemblies could not find place in the many non-Vedic tribes who lived in the new kingdom. Look, in the post-Vedic period, we can see one important phenomena in the society, that now the indigenous communities of India are mixing up with the Aryan community, right? Earlier what was happening in the Rig Vedic part, we can see that most of the people were Aryan, right? So here it was, they were having a sort of notion of egalitarianism, right, where all the people were equal because they all were Aryan, right? So there was a notion of similarity or equality among the people, but once these people have intermixed with the Indian people, so now this particular idea of egalitarianism could not function for a longer period. Why? Because ultimately these people could have been they would have been stopped by joining this Sabha and Samiti. So this new communities, right, they were not allowed, I mean these indigenous communities were not allowed to join same rank, we can say, with this Aryan people, and just because of this reason what happened, these people have stopped I mean they have just decreased the importance of this Sabha and Samiti, and that is where they gradually they lost their importance. So the second reason might be possible, it's somehow is possible. So the statement number 2 is correct. So the answer will be B. Which of the following feature were prominent during the question number 41 during the Mauryan period? Introduction of stone masonry, that is very much popular because most of the masonry works we can find that the stone has been used there, right? So this is true. Use of burn bricks, this is the period after IBC that people have started again using this burn bricks. But it was not used very frequently. I mean most of the structures or the architectures were not built with the help of this burn bricks, but yes, we can say in some of the places they have started using this burn bricks, and basically the best example for using this burn bricks is definitely the ring wells, right? Because the ring well is also one of the important phenomena of the modern period when people have started using this ring wells, right? And there the ring wells have been developed with the help of this burn bricks, right? So and that is the third that is the third statement also. So we can find that all the three statements are correct. So the answer will be D, all the above. 42. Kusanas were first rulers in India to issue coins which can be definitely attributed to the king. We have just discussed just now we have discussed this particular statement. Yes, Kusanas were the this particular tradition has been started by the Indo-Greeks, but it was intensified during the period of Kusanas, where we can find so many informations have been given regarding the rulers in the dynasty in the coins, right? So it was the coins were always we can say definitely it was attributed to the king. That's true. Okay, I'm sorry. Kusanas were the first rulers, that is not true because this particular notion has been started with the Indo-Greeks. So the Kusanas were not the first. So this is a wrong statement, right? The second, Kusanas contributed to the Indian theatre by introducing the use of curtains. That is also a wrong statement because this use of curtains basically in the theatres has been introduced by the Indo-Greeks, right? And that is why we find a particular term in the Sanskrit also for the curtains curtains of theatre, which is known as the Yavanika, right? And as it was known as Yavanika just because of the reason that they have introduced this particular thing in India, right? So second statement number 2 is also incorrect. So it can be said ki answer will be D, none of the above. 43. Consider the following statement about Satvahana dynasty. First, the social structure of the Satvahana was patriarchal in nature. Look, as far as the social structure of Satvahana is there, normally it has been said, it has been written in the books that these are the matriarchal the Satvahana's were the matriarchal societies. Why? Because normally the kings were carrying the name of the name of their mother, right? Like Gautamiputra Satkarni, Vasishthiputra Pulvami, right? These are the names such as, right? Now the thing is that, but it does not clearly indicate that just because of this reason they were the matriarchal society, because if it would have been a matriarchal society, then the kings won't become very important. The queens might be more important, right? Because this is the notion of the matriarchal society where the property was inherited by the daughter from her mother rather than to the son from his father, right? So this is the notion of the matriarchal society. But even though we can say ki at least these people in the Satvahana family, the mothers were very much prominent, right? The mothers were enjoying some powers, right? Or the lady of the female part of the society was enjoying some power. So in that case we can say ki it was not very much patriarchal in the nature. So the social status of the Satvahana was patriarchal in nature, that we cannot say. It might be, it might not be fully matriarchal, but at least it was not highly patriarchal also, right? So statement number first is incorrect. Second, the administrative structure of Satavahanas was feudal in nature. That's true. This is the period when we can find that the feudalism has been started, because once the Mauryan period, we can see the demise of the Mauryan period, then we can discuss then that Mauryan period was a highly centralized state. So once this particular system of administration or system of rule has been declined, then we can say ki now what is happening, ki people are moving towards this feudal character of administration. So yes, in the Satvana, Sunga, Kanva, or the northwestern dynasties, we can discuss this feudal character of the feudal nature of the administration. So that is correct. Third, Satvana stated that the practice of granting started the practice of granting tax-free villages to the Brahmanas. That is true. This idea has been started and intensified by the Satvahanas, and normally the Satvahanas are not just because of this this particular act. So second and third are correct. So the answer number A is correct. 44 is about all the three pitkas of the Buddhism. So all the statements are correct. Vinay Pitka deals with the rules of monastic orders. Sutta Pitka is collection of Buddha's sermons basically, and Abhidhamma Pitka is a sort of philosophical discussion of the Buddhist idea or Buddhism, right? So all the three statements are correct. 45 is a factual. 46 is a factual question. 47 is a factual. 48. Consider the following statement about the Neolithic age. Practice of agriculture. Obviously, this is true. Manufacture of pottery. This is also true because in the Neolithic phase, earlier we can find that they have started using this hand made pottery, but later on they have invented wheel and they have started using this wheel for pottery making. So we find both the pattern of pottery making. Polished stone tools, yes, that is also one of the important phenomena of the of the Neolithic phase, where they have started using this polished stone tools, right? Fourth, domestication of animals, that is also true. So all the options are correct. Answer T. 49. The site Harappan was situated on the bank of river Indus. That is wrong, right? It's situated on the bank of river Ravi. Second, largest site of Harappan civilization is Mohenjo-daro. That is true. Surkotda is a Harappan site in the state of Gujarat. That is correct. So statement number second and third are correct. B. Next one is a factual. 52. Chandragupta Maurya, he was the founder of Magadhan Empire. No, that is not true because it was founded by somebody else. It was founded by the Haryak dynasty, right? So it was Bimbisar who founded this. Next, he was the follower of Buddhism. That is also not correct because he was a follower of Jainism. Seleucus Nicator was the ambassador in his court. No, Seleucus Nicator sent an ambassador as Megasthenes in his court, right? So all the statements are incorrect. So the answer will be D. Next is a factual question that we have discussed also earlier. Question number 54. Biharas were the residents of the Buddhist monks in the rainy season. Yes, that's true. There are three concepts of architecture in the Buddhism: Chaitya, Viharas, and stupas. Stupas were the construction which were built on the relics of Buddha, right? For the worship purpose, right? So that is known as a stupa. Chaitya is basically the place where they could do the worship, and the Bihara is the place where the monks could stay in the rainy season, right? And in the rest of the season they were allowed to travel from one place to another place, right? So these are the concept of the architecture in the Buddhism, right? So it was the first statements ki Biharas were the residents, that is correct. The second, the most famous Bihara is that of Karle in the Western Deccan. No, this is not true. Karle was the construction that we find in the Karle, it is a Chaitya rather than it's a Bihara, right? So only the statement number 1 is correct. So the answer, the correct answer will be A. 55 is a factual. 56 is also a factual question. 57 factual. 58 factual. 59. The early phase of Sankhya philosophy was rational and scientific in view, but the later on stress on the spiritualism. Yes, that's true, because Sankhya philosophy, we can find the two categories of the Sankhya philosophy, which was known as the older school and the new school, right? So the older school was believing in the rationalism and the scientific view, right? But in the later school, which is known as the new school of Sankhya philosophy, that is believing in the spiritualism, right? So this is the first statement is correct. The second, Nyaya developed as a system of logic and truth on state of a statement can be judged through the inference, hearing and analogy. That is true, because now is supposed to be one of the rational and logical school in the Indian philosophical system, because they always talked about the rationality, we can say, try to judge anything on the basis of certain evidences. So this is correct. The third, according to Mimamsa school, the salvation can be attained through knowledge, and the knowledge can be attained through perception, inference and the hearing. That is not correct, because there these people have emphasized a lot on the Vedic rituals, and according to them this is the right path to attain the salvation. So A and B are correct, C is wrong. Okay, so here one option is missing, right? Okay, so the C is the wrong answer. So they are asking about the incorrect sentence, so it's definitely C. Question number 60. When the state and the Varna divided social order, has been established, the thinkers laid down that a person should strive for the attainment of 4 goals: Arth, Dharma, Kam and Moksha. With reference to these, consider the following. Okay, fine. So these, after this Varna social order has been established, then it has been said that normally the Purusa are having 4 goals in their life, which is known as the Dharma, Arth, Kam and Moksha, right? And the meanings are very much obvious. Dharma means the religion, right? Following the religion. Arth means to earning the money. Kam means the sexual pleasure, and the moksha is the salvation, right? So there are certain texts which are indicating about these kind of things, right? So for the matter, related to Artha, Arthashastra was treatise as the guideline. That is true. For the matter of related to the laws governing the state and society, Manusmriti was treated as the guidelines. Well, that is not correct. Manusmriti was was not the right text. It was the Dharma Shastra which was the right text for the for the laws governing the state and society. So it's a wrong statement. Second is wrong. The third, Kama is related to Kama Sutra, and the fourth is salvation, which is related to the darsana, different darsanas, right? So the first, third and fourth are correct. Second is wrong. So the answer will be C. Consider the following statement. Question number 61. Kapila was the earliest exponent of the Sankhya, which teaches that a man's life is shaped by the forces of nature. Yes, that's true. According to this Sankhya philosophy, what happens? The man's life is shaped by the forces of nature. So they accept the superiority of the nature, that yes, nature is shaping everything, and even the human's life are also shaped by the nature. So this idea is correct, and this statement is also correct, right? The second, the doctrine of Ajivikas propounded the materialistic ideas. Yes, Ajivikas were very much materialistic, and they were believing they were not believing in salvation and some other thing. They were simply promoting the idea of materialistic thing, right? The third, Charvaka was the main expounder of the materialistic philosophy. This is true. This philosophy came to be known as the Lokayat. At the time, this philosophy became very popular in India, and that is why this particular philosophy is known as the Lokayat philosophy, because which is something which is liked by the people or popular with the people. So statement number first, second and third both are right, but the question is asking about the incorrect statement. So that is why not a single answer statement is correct. So the answer will be C, none of the above, right? 62. Consider the following statements with reference to the early kingdoms in South India. The southern end of the peninsula, situated south of the river Krishna, was divided into 3 kingdoms: Chola, Chera and Pandya. Normally in South India we can find the tradition that the cities, it's not true only for the South India, even in the North India also we can find, then normally the empires or the or the rules were divided on the basis of the rivers, right? Because from here, here, at one side of the river somebody else is ruling, on the another side of the river somebody else is ruling. So this particular notion was definitely functioning in the South India as well. So there we can find this around this river Krishna, we can find that it was divided 3 zones which were ruled by Chola, Pandya and Chera. So that is correct. The second, Pandyas were the first mentioned by the Megasthenes. This is also correct statement. Third, Sangama text mention the political history of the Cholas, right? This is also correct. Fourth, Cheras were having robust trade relation with the Romans. Yes, this is true. The Cheras were having very good relationship with the Romans and just basically the trading relationship. And actually, this was one of the big source of income for this Chera dynasty. So all the statements are correct. So the answer will be D. Question number 63. Which of the following statements with regard to the Sangam age is incorrect? Okay, fine. So first, Sangama was a college of assembly of Tamil poets. That is definitely true. Next, Sangama was held 5 times. This is correct. This is incorrect because this was the Sangamas were held only for 3 times, right? So this is wrong. The third, Sangama literature is divided in 2 groups: narratives, which called okay, fine, the lower group and the upper groups, that's true. Major works and the minor work, this is known as the upper and the lower also. So yes, that is also true. So C is correct. D, the didactic text cover the early centuries of Christian era, and it also prescribe a code of conduct for the king and his court and also for the various social groups. That is also true because it's very much didactic in nature, and normally it prescribes the duties of different classes of the society. So that is also correct. So A is correct, C is correct, and D is correct, right? So B is the incorrect, right? So answer will be B. Next, consider the following statement with regard to the Sangam literature. The narrative text of the Sangamas are considered works of heroic poetry. That is true. We have already discussed. Second, the narrative text also give idea of the state formation, warrior class among the along with the taxation and judicial system. That is also true. These kind of informations are also evident in the Sangama literature. It definitely discusses about the political system and political and administrative system. So there they have discussed these kind of informations as well, right? The third, the text of Talaka PM deals with the grammar and politics. Yes, this is also one of the important part of the Sangama literature, which deals with the grammar and poetics, right? Poetries. That is true. Fourth, the text of Tirukural deals with the philosophy and Marxism. Tirukural is a text, which is basically dealing with the philosophy and basically the philosophy, right? So this statement number 4 is also correct. So all the statements are correct. So the answer will be D, all the above. 65 is a factual question. 66, same for the 66. 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73. These are all factual questions. You just refer the model hint. 74. Consider the following statement with reference to the Gupta period. At many places where large evidences of Guptas were found, the antiquities of Kusanas were immediately followed by the Guptas. Well, it is a well-known fact that the Guptas were the follower of Kusanas. Somewhere it has also been written that Kusanas were working as the feuds or or the administrative bureaucrats of the Kusanas, right? So it has been said that once we see the fall of the Kusanas, we can find the images of Guptas. So it's very much obvious that the antiquities of the Kusanas were followed by the Guptas, right? So statement number 1 is correct. Second, Samudragupta followed the policy of peace and non-aggression. Obviously, this is wrong because he was one of the such king who actually invaded almost all complete India. So this is wrong. Third, Gupta issued the largest number of gold coins, which were called dinaras in their inscriptions. That is also true, right? Guptas issued the largest number of gold coins. The first and third are correct. Answer will be B. Question number 75. Which of the following statements are incorrect? The long distance trade declined during the second half of the 6th century AD. Well, it has been said that after the Gupta period we can find a sort of decline with the trade, and basically the reason which was counted that now there is no central rule which could control the trade and commerce in India, and just because of this reason it has been said that there was a fall in the in this trade and commerce between India and the some other parts of the world. The another reason is also there that this is the period when the Byzantine Empire is falling down, right, and once it fall down, so definitely this it was also one of the biggest big setback with to this Indian trade and commerce, right. So just because of some reasons it has been said that this is a sort of falling period of Indian trade, right. So A is correct. Second, during the Gupta period, a new class of landlord of Brahmins appeared and a large part of land was brought under the cultivation. This is also true because we have seen a process of giving the lands or donating the lands to the Brahmins, right, in the post-modern phase. So this particular phenomena has been intensified a lot, and just because of this reason we can see that people have now we can find a big class of Brahmins, those who were the landowners, right. And just because of this particular process, what happened, some of the lands which were are not under cultivation earlier, those brought under cultivation just because of this particular phenomena. So this is also correct. C. During the Gupta period, the social structure of the society got expanded, and the proliferation of the numerous subcastes originated because of the foreigners of assimilation into the Indian society. Yes, this is true. Now in the Gupta period onwards, or during the Gupta period, we can find during and onwards as well, that the now numerous subcastes were emerging. And out of this, definitely this assimilation of foreigners is one of the reason, but this is only one of the reason, right. But definitely we find caste and subcaste, the notion of caste and subcaste is definitely coming during this period, right. So C is correct. D, the position of Sudras in the society decreased continuously. This is wrong because now one such sort of heterogeneous sects are coming like Buddhism, Jainism, and they were challenging this Brahminical notions. So then what is happening, Brahmanism are now trying to revive themselves, and just because of this reason they tried to revive the situation or the status of the Sudras as well. And just because of that reason we can say one thing, now Sudras were not having the equal status or the same status as they experienced earlier. Now they have given some property rights, they have given some worshipping rights and these kind of things. So definitely we can see now there was some improvement with the status of Sudras. So statement number D is incorrect. So that is okay, that is not correct. So this is the wrong answer, D, because they are asking about the incorrect sentence. 76. In Buddhism, bodhisattvas are definitely the person who attain enlightenment, right. So answer will be B. So this bodhisattvas are basically part of this concept of bodhisattvas are part of Mahayana, because it has been said that there was no person which could be worshipped in the Hinayana Buddhism. So definitely this concept of Buddhism, bodhisattvas are coming in the Mahayana concept of Buddhism. But one thing I must tell you here, that this concept of bodhisattvas contributed a lot in Indian architecture and art, basically because it became one of the important theme for the architecture and art. So this is very important thing in Indian history as well. Question number 77 is factual. 78. Which one of the following describes best the concepts of nirvana in Buddhism? Well, this is a sort of tricky question. The extinction of the flame of desire. First, the second, the complete annihilation of the self. Third, state of bliss and rest. Fourth, a mental stage beyond all comprehension. Look, what is nirvana according to Buddhism? In Buddhism, it has been said that we people are suffering with so many miseries, right. What are the reasons for the miseries? So this is the reason. What is the reason? That is the desire. So if we are capable of suppressing all of your desires, then you can attain the nirvana, right. So according to Buddhism, the main problematic thing within the people, within the human being, is the desire. So according to Buddhism, what is nirvana? If you are capable of suppressing all your desires. So the answer number 1, the option number 1, the extinction of the flame of desire. If you are capable of extinct the flame of desire, then you are capable of getting the nirvana. So A is the best suitable answer for this. Question number 79. It's an assertion. Ashoka was converted to Buddhism immediately after Kalinga War in 260 BC. Well, this is a sort of debatable thing. Somebody is saying that Ashoka converted just after the war. Some of the historians are saying there was no evidence for that, and Ashoka, after so many years of the Kalinga war, Ashoka converted into Buddhism. So this is such a statement which cannot be believed upon, right? So this is a wrong statement. Now the second, Bhabra inscription clearly states that the Ashoka was converted to Buddhism 2.5 years after the Kalinga war, right? As far as this particular inscription is there, so yes, whatever the information that we are getting, that information is correct, but according to that inscription, right? So it can be said that the statement number second is correct. Why? Because it's giving a reference where we can find such particular thing, right? So first is assertion is wrong, reason is right. So we can say the answer is B, where A is false and R is right. The Ashoka Chakra found in our national flag consists of 24 spokes. They are in blue colors. That is true. Right. The second, the 24 spokes denotes the teaching of life linked by Buddha. This is not the teaching of life linked by Buddha. This is simply indicating about the Dharma Chakra, because this Dharma Chakra was one of the important important, we can say, indicator, or important symbol. Why? Because it has been said that this wheel of religion has been turned by Buddha, because earlier people were following Hinduism or Brahmanism. Now they have started following this Buddhism. So this is the basic concept of this Dharma Chakra. So this is all. We have discussed all the questions. I hope you people could get some valuable information from this paper discussion. So again in the paper number 6 we'll meet. Thank you very much.